The glass child. To be made of glass is to be fundamentally useful yet entirely invisible. You are expected to hold things together, to keep the bitter cold out, and to provide a clear view of the turbulent world outside. But nobody ever truly looks at the glass. They look right through it. Chloe understood this metaphor far too intimately. At 15 years old, she had already mastered the art of being transparent. The house on Elm Street was not structurally broken, but the atmosphere inside was perpetually fractured. It smelled faintly of stale coffee, anxiety, and the sharp clinical scent of hand sanitizer from her parents' frequent visits to rehabilitation centers. The epicenter of this domestic earthquake was invariably her older brother Julian. Julian, who was charismatic, brilliant, and tragically addicted to heroin. For the past 3 years, Julian's addiction had dictated the rhythm of their household. His highs and lows were the unpredictable weather patterns by which the family navigated their daily existence. A good week meant quiet dinners with strained, cautious smiles. A bad week, which was the overwhelming majority of weeks, meant slammed doors, missing cash, whispered arguments at 3 in the morning, and the inevitable wail of an ambulance siren. Chloe, in response, had instinctively folded herself into the smallest possible emotional footprint. She had become the easy one, the resilient one, the child who required absolutely zero maintenance. It was a Tuesday evening, a quintessential snapshot of their current reality. The kitchen was dimly lit, the only sound the low humming of the refrigerator. Chloe stood meticulously chopping vegetables for a stir-fry, a recipe she had perfected out of sheer necessity. Her mother Eleanor sat at the dining table, her posture rigid, a phone clutched fiercely in her trembling hands. She was waiting for a call from a facility in upstate New York. Her father David was pacing the hallway, muttering in hushed, frustrated tones to a reluctant insurance representative. Neither of them noticed Chloe's rhythmic chopping. They didn't see the dark circles under her exhausted eyes, nor did they ask about the advanced placement history exam she had confidently completed that afternoon. They were utterly consumed by the black hole of Julian's crisis, pulled inexorably into his chaotic orbit. "Dinner is ready," Chloe announced softly, carefully plating 3 portions. Eleanor blinked, as if momentarily waking from a deep trance. She looked at the steaming plate, then up at her daughter, her eyes glassy and unfocused. "Oh, sweetheart, thank you. Just leave it on the counter. I can't stomach anything right now. What if they don't have a bed for him?" David walked into the kitchen, rubbing his temples forcefully. "They're stalling, always stalling. Chloe, eat your dinner. I need to make another call." Chloe sat alone at the small island, quietly eating her meal in silence. She chewed methodically, swallowing the familiar lump of resignation in her throat. This was the unspoken agreement of their household. She would not add to the burden. Neglect in the convoluted logic of her parents' trauma was masquerading as profound trust. "We don't need to worry about Chloe. Chloe is fine." And superficially, she was more than fine. Chloe was an academic powerhouse. She maintained a flawless academic record, volunteered at the local animal shelter, and ran cross-country. She had constructed an impeccable facade of competence. Her teachers adored her, consistently citing her as a model student and a self-starter. But every perfect grade, every meticulously crafted essay, was a silent scream for validation. It was an offering placed on the altar of her parents' attention, hoping that one day it would be magnificent enough to eclipse Julian's disasters. That extraordinary opportunity seemed to finally materialize in early May. Mr. Harrison, her English literature teacher, pulled her aside after class. His expression was a captivating mix of pride and sheer awe. "Chloe, the results for the Governor's Young Writers Fellowship came in this morning." Chloe's breath hitched. It was the most prestigious writing award in the state, offering not just a significant college scholarship, but a formal, glamorous banquet at the state capitol. She had poured her entire soul into her submission, a thinly veiled metaphorical essay about a solitary lighthouse keeper trying to illuminate a violent storm that refused to pass. "You won, Chloe," Mr. Harrison said, his voice brimming with genuine excitement. "First place out of thousands of competitive submissions. The awards ceremony is next Friday in the Capitol. Your parents must be incredibly proud." A spark of genuine, unrestrained joy ignited in Chloe's chest. It was a rare and blinding sensation. First place. This was not just another predictable excellent grade on a report card. This was monumental. This was something loud enough to cut through the heavy static of her house. She practically sprinted home that afternoon, the thick envelope embossed with the official state seal clutched tightly against her chest. She eagerly rehearsed the announcement in her head. She pictured her mother's eyes finally focusing on her, widening with pride. She imagined her father putting down his phone, pulling her into a tight embrace and saying, "We are so proud of you." When she burst through the front door, however, the silence of the house felt thick, almost suffocating. The air was heavy with the unmistakable residue of recent panic. "Mom! Dad!" Chloe called out, her voice trembling slightly, the impressive envelope suddenly feeling heavy and awkward in her hand. She found her mother in the living room, weeping silently onto the sofa cushions. The room was a disaster zone, throw pillows scattered haphazardly, a decorative lamp knocked over. Her father was standing rigidly by the window, his shoulders severely slumped, looking older than she had ever seen him. "He's gone again," David said, his voice devoid of all emotion, a hollow echo in the quiet room. "Walked right out of the detox center. Nobody knows where he is." The bright spark in Chloe's chest extinguished instantly, swiftly replaced by a familiar creeping frost. The envelope in her hand felt utterly insignificant, a foolish piece of paper in the face of life or death stakes. "I'm sorry," Chloe whispered, stepping backward into the shadows of the hallway. I'll go make some tea." She retreated to the kitchen, the glass child returning to her transparent state. She quietly placed the prestigious award on top of the refrigerator, hidden entirely behind a stack of unpaid medical bills. The ceremony was next Friday, exactly 7 days away. For the first time in her life, a tiny rebellious ember of anger flared fiercely beneath the ice of her resignation. She decided, in that quiet kitchen, that she would tell them about the ceremony anyway. She would give them one final, desperate chance to see her. The following evening, the atmosphere in the house shifted from acute panic to a grueling, low-grade dread. Julian remained missing, a phantom haunting every silent room. Chloe waited until her parents were seated at the dinner table, pushing their pasta around their plates like chess pieces in a losing game. She took a deep, steadying breath, her hands clutched tightly in her lap. "I want something," she began, her voice sounding unnaturally loud in the quiet. "At school, the governor's fellowship." Her father glanced up, his brow furrowed as if he were trying to translate a foreign language. "That is good, Chloe, very good." "There is a banquet," she pressed on, "next Friday evening. They expect my family to be there. I will receive the first-place medal." Eleanor finally looked at her, blinking away the fog of exhaustion. A fleeting look of pride broke through her grief. "First place? That is wonderful. Of course we will be there. We wouldn't miss it." Those words became Chloe's fragile lifeline over the agonizing week. She allowed herself the rare luxury of hope. On Tuesday, she bought a navy dress using her allowance. On Thursday, she meticulously polished her best pair of shoes. Her parents seemed to be making a genuine effort. David added the banquet to the family calendar, writing it in bold red ink. Eleanor even mentioned taking Chloe to get her hair styled, though the appointment never materialized. Still, the mere acknowledgement of her existence felt like a monumental victory. But the spectre of Julian was always there, lurking just out of sight. The police had been notified, and every time the telephone rang, the house seemed to hold its collective breath. The tension was a living, breathing entity, coiling tighter with each passing hour. Chloe walked on eggshells, terrified that any sudden movement might shatter the fragile peace and ruin her single night of recognition. She meticulously completed her chores, finished her homework early, and remained entirely invisible. Friday evening arrived, bringing with it a torrential downpour. The rain lashed furiously against the windows, mirroring the growing anxiety knotting in Chloe's stomach. She stood in front of her bedroom mirror, smoothing the fabric of the navy dress. She looked different, older, undeniably present, and utterly solid. Not glass. Not today. She walked downstairs into the living room, a hesitant smile forming on her lips. "I am ready," she announced. Her parents were standing by the front door, both wearing their winter coats. However, they were not looking at her. They were staring intensely at David's glowing cell phone. The silence was absolute, heavier than it had been all week. "Dad?" Chloe asked, the smile instantly evaporating. David looked up, his face ashen, his eyes wide with stark terror. "They found him downtown. He overdosed, Chloe. The paramedics revived him, but it is bad. They are rushing him to Mercy General right now." The world seemed to tilt violently on its axis. The roaring of the storm outside was entirely drowned out by the sudden deafening rushing sound in her ears. Eleanor was already grabbing her purse, her hands shaking violently. "We have to go. We have to go right now, David. What if he doesn't make it?" "Mom," Chloe said, her voice cracking, pleading. "The banquet. We are supposed to leave in 10 minutes. Eleanor paused, her hand frozen on the brass doorknob. She looked at Chloe, really looked at her, in the beautiful navy dress. A profound, heartbreaking sorrow fractured her exhausted features, but it was quickly swallowed by overwhelming panic. "Chloe, please," Eleanor whispered, tears spilling over her eyelashes. "It is your brother. It is a matter of life and death. You understand, don't you? You are so strong. You are always so capable. We are so proud of you, but we cannot be there tonight. You can take a taxi, right? There is cash in the jar." Before Chloe could utter a single word of protest, the front door slammed shut, plunging the hallway into profound darkness. The lock clicked. They were gone. Chloe stood utterly motionless in the silent house. She did not cry. The anger that had simmered in the kitchen a week prior did not erupt. Instead, it crystallized, turning entirely to ice. The realization washed over her with devastating clarity. Being the easy child was not a virtue, it was a sentence. Her flawless independence was merely a convenient excuse for their absolute neglect. She walked into the kitchen, opened the cash jar, and ordered a taxi. 3 hours later, Chloe stood beneath the glaring spotlights of the Capitol ballroom. The applause was thunderous, echoing off the gilded ceiling as the governor draped the heavy gold medal around her neck. Mr. Harrison beamed from the front row. The room was packed with proud, weeping parents taking countless photographs. Chloe smiled perfectly for the cameras, holding her plaque. She was brilliant. She was triumphant. And as she looked out into the vast, cheering crowd, seeing only the empty chairs reserved for her family, she finally understood the ultimate tragedy of the glass child. She could shine brilliantly. She could reflect all the light in the world. But in the end, she would always remain entirely alone, a mere reflection in an empty room. The end. And that brings us to the close of Chloe's heartbreaking journey. It is a deeply emotional tale, but stories like this are incredibly rich resources for our language journey, packed with advanced expressions and nuanced meanings. Key vocabulary. Let us transition right into unpacking the most difficult vocabulary and phrases from the text so you can start using them confidently. Resilient. She had become the easy one, the resilient one. To be resilient means to be able to withstand or recover quickly from difficult conditions. In a psychological context, it means bouncing back from trauma or stress without breaking. But we can also use it for physical things, like a resilient rubber material or a resilient community rebuilding after a storm. Meticulously. Chloe stood meticulously chopping vegetables for a stir-fry. To do something meticulously means doing it with great attention to detail, being extremely careful and precise. Chloe chops vegetables perfectly because she is trying to control the only thing she can. In daily life, you might meticulously plan a travel itinerary or meticulously clean your apartment before guests arrive. Inexorably. Pulled inexorably into his chaotic orbit. Inexorably means in a way that is impossible to stop or prevent. It paints a picture of a powerful, unavoidable force. Her parents cannot stop themselves from being consumed by the brothers' drama. You can also say that time moves inexorably forward, or the tides inexorably rise and fall. Facade. She had constructed an impeccable facade of competence. A facade is an outward appearance that is maintained to conceal a less pleasant reality. Literally, it refers to the front face of a building, but metaphorically, it is a fake personality or mood you show the world. People often put up a happy facade at work even when they are struggling internally. Prestigious. It was the most prestigious writing award in the state. Prestigious describes something that inspires respect and admiration because it is considered important or of very high quality. Winning this specific award brings a lot of honor and status. You will often hear about a prestigious university or a prestigious fellowship at a hospital. Torrential. Friday evening arrived, bringing with it a torrential downpour. Torrential refers to rain falling rapidly and in massive, violent quantities. In literature, it often sets a dark, heavy mood for a crucial scene. You will frequently hear weather forecasters warn about torrential rain leading to sudden road closures. Spectre. But the spectre of Julian was always there. A spectre is literally a ghost or spirit, but in advanced English, it is often used to describe the lingering memory or hidden threat of something terrible. Julian was not a literal ghost, but the fear of his addiction haunted the house. You might feel the spectre of an upcoming final exam hanging over your entire weekend. Key phrases. Masquerading as. Neglect was masquerading as profound trust. Masquerading as means pretending to be something you are not in order to hide the truth. Her parents' complete lack of attention looked like trust on the outside, but it was actually neglect. A common modern example is a dangerous computer virus masquerading as a harmless email attachment. Academic powerhouse. Chloe was an academic powerhouse. An academic powerhouse is someone or something that is exceptionally strong, energetic, or successful in education and learning. Chloe achieved perfect grades almost effortlessly. A university that consistently wins major science awards can also be referred to as a research powerhouse. Walked on eggshells. Chloe walked on eggshells. To walk on eggshells means to be extremely careful about what you say or do so that you do not offend or upset someone volatile. Chloe had to be perfectly quiet so her parents would not become more stressed. You might walk on eggshells around a manager who is in a terrible mood. Matter of life and death. It is a matter of life and death. This phrase is used to describe a situation that is desperately serious, where someone could literally die, or where the stakes feel impossibly high. Her brother's medical emergency was a literal matter of life and death. Sometimes people use it dramatically, saying that getting concert tickets is a matter of life and death, even when it is just for fun. Tilt violently on its axis. The world seemed to tilt violently on its axis. This is a beautiful, dramatic metaphor. The Earth spins smoothly on an axis, keeping our gravity and days stable. If your world tilts violently on its axis, it means a sudden, shocking event has completely destroyed your sense of normal reality. Receiving entirely unexpected, life-changing news can make your world feel like it tilted on its axis. Comprehension quiz. Now that we have unpacked those beautiful and challenging expressions, let us test your understanding of the story's deeper meanings. I am going to give you a short comprehension quiz. Please pause the video after I ask the questions. Take a moment to really think about your answers and write them down in the comments section below. I will reveal the correct answers in just a moment. First, what exactly does the metaphor of the glass child represent in the specific context of Chloe's family dynamic? Next, what was the underlying subject of the essay Chloe wrote to win the governor's fellowship? Finally, what specific event caused Chloe's parents to abruptly leave the house just moments before they were supposed to leave for the banquet? Go ahead and pause the video right now. Drop your answers down in the comments, and whenever you are ready, press play to continue. Welcome back. Let us see how well you grasp the emotional details of Chloe's story. For the first question, being a glass child represents being the sibling of someone with severe demanding issues. It means you are essentially seen right through or ignored by your parents because you are considered the strong, easy child who does not require any saving or attention. Moving to the next question, Chloe wrote a deeply metaphorical essay about a solitary lighthouse keeper trying desperately to illuminate a violent storm that refused to pass, which symbolized her helpless role within her own turbulent family. And for the final question, her parents rushed out because they received an emergency phone call revealing that her brother Julian had overdosed downtown and was being rushed to the hospital in critical condition. Exploring complex human emotions through narrative is such a powerful way to naturally master advanced English vocabulary. If breaking down this story helped you improve your English today, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. We will keep using these gripping stories to build your fluency and confidence. Keep reading, keep practicing your new vocabulary, and I will see you in the next lesson.